Faye Dunaway's remarkable performance in the current movie Mommie Dearest has people wondering how much like Joan Crawford Faye Dunaway is. This morning, Faye Dunaway speaks of her kinship to Joan Crawford and reveals what it's like to be treated like a star. Were you, in a sense, ever haunted by Joan Crawford, by your role in Mommie Dearest?
It was a very emotional experience, and it was very, very difficult because it was a painful kind of life that both lives, the mother and the daughter, that you were trying to talk about in some sensitive way, but it had an enormous amount of extremity to it, and where that is, there are always passions and enormous feelings that are not manageable because they go out of control. So all those things had to be gone absolutely to the heart of in order to make any sense out of what happened between the mother and the daughter, and what happened to the mother, from my point of view, on her own. So yes, it certainly was, it took me 2 months, and I sort of timed it to really start to feel like myself again. But what I felt after we shot was a kind of nothing, just kind of waiting and waiting and, you know, carrying on with life. And then in about 2 months' time, I began to pick up and to feel like myself again. So that it still is there, and it always will be. I'm sure most parts are always there. Every experience you've had, it seems to me, always stays with you to some degree or another. And it is haunting because it was enormously painful, both for her and for the daughter, and who will ever know the truth? And that's haunting, too, in a way.
So you don't know whether the woman, as portrayed by you in the film, is a true reflection of the real Joan Crawford?
I don't, no.
And you don't know whether the Joan Crawford portrayed by the daughter in the book is the real Joan Crawford?
I feel fairly sure that that is not the real Joan Crawford.
Do you feel in any way a kinship to Joan Crawford? Is she anything like you are?
I feel an enormous kinship, enormous. Is she like me is a different question, because there are, I think in me, to be honest, some tendencies. I don't know, I've never completely examined that, but I can do that. But a kinship, yes. I mean, I feel well, this was the greatest American movie star. There were others after that, but to that point, it's a long discussion, but she came up, she had 2 careers, first of all. The first one was during the 30s, 20s, as a matter of fact, when it was the Hollywood of foreign imports, for the most part. I know that there were other American movie stars and everything, but she always took my heart and did even more when I, worked on finding out who she was. Because she did it on such guts and such, I mean, she was such will that your heart went out to her. It was a time when the Garbos and the exotic foreign creatures, were coming to Hollywood, and our national, I think, inferiority complex about these things, which sometimes comes in there, is that anything foreign is better. Well, with a grain of salt. A lot of it is better, or as good, or whatever it is, but it ought to be the same standard you judge something for it as your own people. But sometimes, and I'm no exception either, we're all that way. You think something because it's not coming from home, not homegrown, is better. And I think that she labored under that a little bit in the kind of Hollywood notion of what was a movie star. And I think she pulled herself up from by her bootstraps, however the saying goes. But she really did come from a school of hard knocks. She had a rotten life. And I don't mean a hard luck story, but she did work hard, and I like that. And that endeared me to her. Then I just couldn't, you have to admire a woman with that sort of determination and that sort of desire. Then what you look at is what happened to her as a result of it. And, how then did her life go on, and to what degree was she victimized by her own passions, by her own, what is a wonderful quality of hunger and a desire that everything should be wonderful and perfect. When then did it turn if it is not perfect, it won't do? When did it make that turn? It did in her, I think it did. So that there was all those wonderful feelings that created certain, I think, extreme kind of tendencies of behavior were interesting too. In me, yes, I have a tendency toward that, hopefully.
If it's not perfect, it's not good enough for Faye Dunaway either.
No, that's not true. I mean, if it is not attempted to to be perfect. It isn't good enough for me.
You're a star. Isn't it fun to be a star?
Yes, of course. It's fun. Yeah, you have to watch it because you have to. You're very. A star is it's fun in the way that success is fun, and in the way that having a job is fun, or having, looking forward to working on something and feeling useful and feeling that you're being used and you're using yourself, and that sort of fun, that excitement. But it is not living. It is not being a mother, a wife, a person, a human being. It's not all that.
But don't you consider yourself an actress and a star, both? You have that combination. So that every door opens just a moment before you reach for the doorknob, the door is already open for you. I mean, people are happy to see you. When you walk into the room, heads turn, correct? Is that a nice feeling? Isn't it?
Well, it's a very good question, because the freedom that stardom gives you in that you can choose the work you want to do is very nice. When you walk in a room and everybody turns to look at you, it's not terribly comfortable, because then you're placed in a position of performing. So then the person has to say, wait a minute, don't perform. Just walk in like a normal human being, but how can you? Because everybody's looking at you like you're not a normal human being. So you know what I mean? That's not terribly comfortable, and it is something that I don't think changes or gets any better. You walk into a room and you have to sometimes make more of an effort to be a person, and to just behave naturally.
Tomorrow, Faye Dunaway tells whether she believes the events in Mommie Dearest actually happened. She reveals why she refused to meet Christina Crawford. And we will show you the scene everybody is talking about, the wire hanger closet scene. Tomorrow, Faye Dunaway here on Today. Next, Richard Leakey talks with Tom Brokaw after we take a station break. One of the most talked about scenes in years occurs in the current movie Mommie Dearest. Faye Dunaway, portraying the 1930 star Joan Crawford, discovers that her daughter Christina is using wire hangers for her expensive dresses. Faye Dunaway's furious reaction is sure to become a movie legend. Today we show you some of that scene, and Faye Dunaway reveals why she refused to meet Christine Crawford, on whose book the movie is based. Now, we continue with Faye Dunaway's exclusive interview with Today. Perception of Joan Crawford was one thing.
Yeah.
Christina Crawford's perception of her mother was another thing. The book is ostensibly the basis for the film. How did you arrive at the way you would play the character? Did you and Christina Crawford have to agree, find some common ground?
Well, I didn't want to meet Christina because I thought the book was exaggerated. I thought it was, there's so many, I could write a book. And if you take isolated incidences, and I have, nothing like this happened to me, but if you take isolated incidents, dramatize them and heighten them from a position of anger or hurt or whatever it was, a mixture of many, many things, I think that Christina, must have been coming from, because that's a powerful statement, what she said in that book. But I did think she exaggerated, and I didn't think that it was by any means the truth, completely the truth.
Certainly one of the memorable scenes in Mommie Dearest is the clothes closet scene.
No wire hangers! What's wire hangers doing in this closet when I told you no wire hangers ever? Work till I'm half dead, and I hear people saying she's getting old. What do I get? A daughter who cares as much about the beautiful dresses I give her as she cares about me. What's wire hangers doing in this closet? Answer me! I buy you beautiful dresses, and you treat them like they were some dish rag. You do. $300 dress on a wire hanger. We'll see how many you've got in hidden some here. We'll see. We'll see. Get out of that bed.
Deep in your heart, you feel that, as portrayed in the film, that could never have occurred in Joan Crawford's life?
No, I didn't say that. It could have occurred. I don't know that it did occur, but I'll never know. And that's an intellectual point. But if it had occurred, I can understand why it did. I can see it happening. I think it may have happened, yes. I think, see, it's very hard, because how can I ever know? I can't ever know. But I think I can see in her character, and I can see in the situation and the moment of life that episode found her in, how it could have happened, and how it could have even been perhaps as extreme as we showed it in the movie. My hunch privately is that it wasn't, but obviously it made for a very dramatic scene. Kids come apparently and bring hangers and cleanser and talk to the screen. And
It's going to get to be a cult film.
Well, that would be wonderful, I think. But it's interesting to see. I think it's raw myth that they're relating to. I do. I don't think. But I think they feel they can participate in it. They can make fun of her and say, "I know what you're going to." They can, but to participate that way. So they're reacting to something. Maybe it's that we all have trouble with our parents, and that we all have trouble with our children, and family is very complicated. And how do you get out of the enormous labyrinth of it? How do you extricate yourself from it? That is really something that I think is enormously powerful. I believe. I was reading the other day. Someone read said, "Well, she didn't believe in family." Well, I don't know. I don't believe. I don't understand what she means by that, because family, and then extend that to friendship and everything else. But family, blood ties, and even living. You know, in this case, the girl was adopted, but that doesn't matter. They were mother and daughter, and they had a battle to the end. We know it. The book wouldn't have been written. The movie would not have been made. Joan would not have, I don't know, it just, you know, there's a raw myth there that is a heightened, an absolute crystallization in a way of what everybody to one degree or another, usually, hopefully, a lesser degree, deals with. And I think that's what they're responding to. Also that it is so extreme, and everyone sort of gets a kick out of something extreme, don't they?
On Friday, Faye Dunaway discusses her feelings about getting older, about friendship, and about her own emotions.